Do you know the feeling of being surrounded by people, but still feeling completely alone? Sometimes the love we receive isn't so obvious. It hides in the little things, in silent gestures, and in unspoken words. A woman, for example, may have loved a man intensely, but he never realized the depth of that love. He was so caught up in his own life that he didn't notice her subtle expressions of affection. Tender glances, encouraging smiles, and shared moments went unnoticed. This invisible love became an emotional iceberg. The visible part, the shared moments, seemed small compared to the submerged mass of unexpressed feelings. When she decided to step away, what he didn't realize was that he was losing not just a partner, but an entire world of love he had never seen. The unsent messages, unshared dreams, and suppressed feelings formed a deep sea of regret. She, in turn, acted with the hope of being noticed, that he would finally see what existed between them. Each gesture, every sacrifice, and every moment dedicated to him was an attempt to be acknowledged, but his routine, stress, and apathy built an invisible barrier between them. When she decided to withdraw, it was an act of protection. The pain of being ignored became unbearable. The separation wasn't marked by a fight or a dramatic breakup. It was silent, almost like a subtle farewell. He sensed that something had changed, but he didn't know exactly what. Her silence spoke louder than any words. Her absence became an echo. What he didn't know was that this invisible love had always been there, waiting for a recognition that never came. Time passed, and amidst his routine, he began to reflect. Her memories began to surface in his mind, like photos in a forgotten album. He realized that the woman he loved, although she was out of his life, still inhabited his heart. It was too late to recognize what he had, too late to understand that love isn't always about grand gestures, but about the consistency of small details. Invisible love can be the most profound of experiences, but also the most painful. It teaches that sometimes the most intense emotions lie hidden beneath the surface, and that true connection requires attention and vulnerability. What could have been a beautiful story transformed into a silent lament. Their story is not just about lost love, but about the importance of seeing and acknowledging those around us. In the end, what remains is a reflection on how many stories of invisible love exist around us, waiting to be noticed. How many times have we let opportunities to love and be loved slip away simply because we failed to look? Invisible love, while it may be deep, is also a reminder that recognition is essential to prevent it from becoming just an echo in the silence. He didn't know that her absence would create a void in his life. The routine, which once felt bearable and even comfortable, began to turn into a burden. Days became long and monotonous, as if he were trapped in an endless cycle of tasks and obligations. The lack of their small interactions, the smiles he once took for granted, became a palpable absence. Unsent messages, interrupted conversations, and moments of silence that were once shared began to echo in his mind. He found himself thinking about the times she had tried to connect, how he had let opportunities slip by to open up to the subtleties of love she offered. The little things he hadn't valued now became the most precious memories, like a lost treasure he was beginning to search for. Finally, he decided he needed to understand what had happened. The first step was to revisit the places they used to frequent together. The cafe where they had breakfast, the park where they spent sunny afternoons, and even the movie theater where they shared laughter and tears. Each place brought to the surface memories that had, until then, been buried under the routine. He noticed that the tables that once seemed simple were now loaded with meaning. During one of these outings, he ran into a mutual friend. The conversation flowed naturally, but soon it became a mirror reflecting his own emotions. The friend commented on her absence, how everyone had noticed the hole she left. The words coming from her mouth were a reminder of what he had lost. He tried to mask the pain, but the truth was that he was becoming a stranger in his own life. Thus he began to reflect on his own responsibility. It wasn't just about the love she had for him. It was also about the lack of attention he had given her. He realized he had often been so focused on his own worries that he had ignored the clear signs she needed more. Love is a two-way street, and he had failed in his part, leaving her alone when she needed him the most. As the weeks went by, he began to change. It wasn't easy, but there was a new determination in his life. He decided that he could not let the invisible love turn into an everlasting regret. He began to open himself up to new experiences, to value each interaction. and to listen more to the people around him. This change was not just about her, it was a reassessment of his own life and the relationships around him. He signed up for dance classes, something he had always wanted to do but never had the courage for. What once was a distant dream began to materialize. He met new people, made friends, and paradoxically, he started to better understand the dynamics of love. Love is not just a feeling, but a continuous action that requires effort and attention. Each step in the dance was a reminder that life is a movement, and that many times we need to be willing to move toward what truly matters. One day while dancing, he remembered her. The movement brought her back to his mind, and he realized he didn't want it to be too late. He wanted to do something about it. With his heart racing, he decided that he needed to talk to her, no matter what happened. He started to craft a message, but it wouldn't just be an apology. He wanted to express everything he had felt, everything he had learned. He recalled specific moments, the laughter, the deep conversations, and even the little arguments that were, at their core, just expressions of a love he had underestimated. It was time to put all of that into words. When he finally sent the message, he felt a mix of relief and anxiety. There was a weight that seemed to lift, but also the uncertainty of what would come next. After a few days, she responded. Her words were like a balm for his soul. She had also missed him, but she was aware that circumstances had changed. Her response brought hope to light. The communication they had both neglected was now becoming the bridge to a new beginning. The conversation flowed naturally, and he realized there was still so much to explore between them. The emotions that once seemed buried began to resurface. She shared her experiences, her struggles, and her achievements, and he did the same. Each word seemed to stitch together the fragments of what had once been lost. The invisible love began to manifest in new ways, no longer hidden, but exposed to the light of honesty. Over time, they decided to meet again. The reunion was filled with emotion. There were no promises, but there was a mutual understanding that they were willing to try again. The scars of the past still existed, but now they were part of their story, a reminder of what they had learned. The invisible love, which had once nearly torn them apart, now united them in a deeper way. They learned to value not only what was visible, but also what lay hidden beneath the surface. Their connection strengthened through vulnerability and a willingness to open up to each other. What had once been a story of regret transformed into a tale of renewal and understanding. Now he knew that love wasn't just about grand gestures, but about the small things that, together, create a meaningful whole. He had learned the importance of seeing and recognizing those who truly matter in his life. And so, he not only reclaimed a lost love, but also a new understanding of what it means to love and be loved. As the days went by, the new phase of their relationship began to take shape. They met more often, and each meeting was an opportunity to rediscover one another. The dialogues deepened, and the words that had once been scarce now flowed easily. The vulnerability they both experienced allowed them to see each other more authentically. She shared how she felt invisible at a time when she needed attention the most. He listened attentively, recognizing the weight of her words. Each story brought up memories of moments he had neglected. He felt guilty, but also relieved to have the chance to hear directly from her what had hurt her. The honesty in the dialogue was a crucial step toward building a new bond. Their routine began to include activities they both enjoyed. They made it a point to try new things together, from walks in the park to visits to art exhibitions. These experiences weren't just distractions. They were ways to create new memories, a new foundation for what they were rebuilding. He realized that by opening himself up to new adventures, he was also allowing himself to be more present. Dancing, which had once been just a dream, became a point of connection. He invited her to a dance class, something he had always wanted to do with someone special. She accepted with a smile, and on the day of the class the excitement was palpable. He remembered how dance had always been a metaphor for life, all the steps, the falls, and the get-ups. The class was fun and filled with laughter, and there, amidst the music, they both began to feel like they were truly rediscovering each other. Over time, their conversations became deeper. They talked about the fears they had regarding the future, about how adulthood often brings unexpected challenges, and how vulnerability can be a strength, not a weakness. This exchange of thoughts strengthened the trust between them. He realized that she was not only a romantic partner, but also a friend and a confidant. The emotional connection was intensifying. There were moments of tension, of course. Some conversations were difficult, and both needed to confront their insecurities. He was afraid she might get disappointed again, and she, in turn, was cautious, fearing that the past could repeat itself. But every challenge they faced together was an opportunity for growth. They learned to communicate their concerns honestly, without fear of retaliation. This became a ritual that, though difficult, was essential for the health of their relationship. Time passed, and the intimacy between them grew. He started to notice details that had previously gone unnoticed: the sparkle in her eyes when she talked about her passions, the way she smiled when reminiscing about good times. These little things, which had once been just part of daily life, now held profound meaning. He learned to appreciate what had always been there but had gone unnoticed before. Additionally, he became more aware of his own emotions. Throughout the process, he realized that he needed not just her presence but also space to express his feelings without fear of being judged. He started writing in a journal, putting his reflections on paper. This practice not only helped him better understand his own feelings, but also prepared him to be more open with her. The journey of rediscovery was not linear. There were days when insecurity haunted him again, making him doubt what they had built. However, he remembered how communication had been the key up to that point. He then decided that whenever he felt that insecurity, he would talk to her about it. This decision marked a turning point in his personal evolution and in their relationship. He realized that honesty was the foundation on which they were building something new and stronger. As time went on, they began to make plans for the future. Conversations about what they really wanted from life became commonplace. He expressed his desire to travel, to discover new places with her by his side. She shared her dreams of continuing her studies and exploring new areas of interest. These conversations opened up a range of possibilities that had previously seemed distant, but now felt tangible. Every plan was a new promise that they were willing to invest in one another. It was a significant change from the past, when he had taken her for granted. Now he understood that love required ongoing effort and attention. The idea of building a future together became a beacon guiding their daily actions. The time they spent together was not just about joyful moments. They learned that they could also face challenges together. When disagreements arose, instead of drifting apart, they chose to discuss openly. This new approach strengthened their relationship even further, as both recognized that difficulties were a natural part of any relationship. Thus their love grew. It was no longer invisible. It was now a visible, pulsating, and vibrant force. In every gesture, every word, there was a mutual acknowledgement that they were there for each other. What had once been a silent lament transformed into a song of hope and renewal. They learned that the true beauty of love lies not only in grand declarations, but also in the small, everyday, and sincere demonstrations of affection. The visible love that blossomed between them was a celebration of emotional resilience and the ability to reconnect, even after pain. Both were ready to write a new chapter, one that recognized the significance of every little detail that makes up the story of a true love. Now they were willing to turn their experiences into learning. The conversations that used to be punctuated by uncomfortable silences now flowed easily. They discovered new ways to communicate, always seeking a safe space to express their feelings. Honesty had become a fundamental pillar of their relationship. When conflicts arose, they would sit down to discuss what was bothering them. This practice not only helped them resolve disagreements, but also allowed them to understand each other better. He realized that vulnerability was not a sign of weakness, but rather a way to strengthen their bond. By opening up about his insecurities, he encouraged her to do the same. Together, they began to build an environment where both felt comfortable sharing their fears and anxieties. This exchange often led them to deep reflections on what they truly valued in life and in their relationship. Additionally, they started establishing small traditions that solidified their connection. They set aside one day a week to do something special, like cooking together or exploring new places in the city. These moments were important as they provided a space for relaxation and fun, away from the pressures of everyday life. Sharing these experiences helped create meaningful memories that went beyond words. As they got to know each other better, they also began discussing their expectations for the future. Conversations about careers, family, and lifestyle emerged naturally. He expressed his desire to have a family, something he hadn't seriously considered before. She, on the other hand, spoke about the importance of traveling and expanding her horizons. These discussions, while challenging, showed that they were aligned in their life goals. The relationship began to evolve, and they became more than just friends or lovers. They became partners. He started to realize that she was a person with her own aspirations and dreams, not just someone filling a space in his life. This new perspective allowed him to support her more genuinely, encouraging her to pursue her passions and interests. In turn, she began to feel more valued. The recognition of her ambitions and desires made her realize that he was truly committed to the relationship. This change in attitude created a positive cycle, where both felt motivated to support each other in their individual journeys. The trust between them grew. Over time, they became more open about their vulnerabilities. He recalled moments when he hesitated to share his feelings, fearing rejection or misunderstanding. Now he knew that this insecurity had no place in a healthy relationship. Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, he decided to focus on what could go right. The small gestures of affection became more frequent. A gentle touch, a spontaneous smile, or a word of encouragement became part of their daily lives. These simple acts, which may have gone unnoticed before, were now celebrated. The joy of being together was manifested in their daily interactions, bringing a new lightness to the relationship. He began to realize that non-verbal communication also played a crucial role. Her gaze, the way she leaned in toward him while they talked. Everything expressed an affection that was often more eloquent than words. This realization made him cherish the moments they spent together even more, as he became attuned to every small detail. There were moments when they faced unexpected challenges, but the way they handled them had changed. Instead of pulling away, they came together. This collaborative approach strengthened them, showing that they were willing to face any obstacle together. This mutual understanding made both of them feel secure and supported. Their relationship also expanded to include friends and family. They began to introduce each other to important people in their lives. This step was significant, as it established a sense of community around their relationship. They both realized that love is something to be shared, and this interaction with others brought a new dimension to the connection they had built. Over time, they became inseparable. Each had found in their partnership not just love, but a genuine friendship. Their conversations were no longer just about them. They discussed the world around them, sharing ideas, dreams, and even social concerns. This intellectual connection further deepened their relationship, creating a space where both could grow together. The routine, which was once filled with monotony, had transformed into a series of new experiences. They ventured into new hobbies, explored shared interests, and even challenged each other to step out of their comfort zones. This willingness to try new things brought freshness to their relationship and reinforced the idea that they were building something lasting. Looking back, he realized how much he had changed. The journey of rediscovery not only helped him understand love better, but also himself. He had learned the importance of cherishing every moment and being present. The invisible love that had nearly separated them was now a bond that united them more deeply. They were ready for the future, not just as a couple, but as individuals who supported each other. Life, with all its complexities, felt more vibrant and full of possibilities. What was once a silent lament had transformed into a love story that continued to unfold, filled with promises and hopes. And so, they moved forward together, ready to write the next chapters of their lives. Time passed, and as they progressed into this new phase, both became more aware of the small changes occurring within them. He began to notice that their communication had become more fluid and honest. Conversations that were once superficial now delved into topics that truly mattered, allowing them to get to know each other on a more intimate level. She, in turn, felt more comfortable expressing her opinions and feelings. The insecurity that once accompanied her started to fade as the trust between them grew. He was a good listener, which made her feel valued. Conversations about their dreams and ambitions became more frequent, creating a safe space to share insecurities and expectations. One of the most significant changes was their decision to establish a weekly ritual for connection. It was a moment reserved just for them, away from the distractions of daily life. During these times, they would explore new restaurants, watch movies they both wanted to see, or simply walk and talk about their lives. This time together became a foundation for their relationship, a moment when they could be fully themselves. Gradually, the relationship began to transform into a true partnership. He realized that love was not just a feeling, but a daily choice. The choice to be present, to support each other, and to grow together. This new perspective made him more proactive in showing his affection. Small gestures like making breakfast or leaving sweet notes became part of his routine. She, on the other hand, also started to reciprocate these displays of affection. Mutual care became a defining characteristic of their relationship. They learned to surprise each other and to find joy in the little things of everyday life. This reinforced the idea that love is built through actions, not just words. Over time, they began to discuss the possibility of living together. It was a significant step, and both had their hesitations. Although they were closer, there was always a fear of the unknown. The idea of sharing a space was filled with expectations, but also uncertainties. For many, living together can be a trial by fire, and they were aware of that. They decided that before taking this step, they needed to have an open conversation about what it would mean for each of them. They sat down at a cafe and began discussing their views on cohabitation, the responsibilities they would have, and how they would handle their differences. The conversation flowed naturally, and they both realized that despite some concerns, they were more aligned than ever before. Talking about living together helped solidify the idea that they were a team. They committed to supporting each other in everything. He remembered how vulnerability had been essential in their journey. Now the willingness to talk openly about their fears was becoming a common practice. This honesty not only brought them closer together, but also prepared them for the challenges that could arise in the future. After a few weeks of conversation and reflection, they decided they were ready to take that step. Both of their excitement grew, and the idea of sharing a home started to feel like an exciting reality. They began looking for apartments, visiting different options, and discussing what they truly wanted in a shared space. The search for a new home brought a new dynamic to their relationship. They learned to negotiate and understand each other's desires. He wanted a space with a large kitchen where he could experiment with new recipes. She dreamed of a small office where she could focus on her studies. The discussions about what each valued helped build a solid foundation for their cohabitation. When they finally found an apartment that met their needs, the excitement was palpable. The move was not just physical. It was a step toward a new chapter in their lives. They began to plan the move, discussing decoration and how they wanted to organize the spaces. This collaboration became an opportunity to further strengthen their connection. The new house quickly transformed into a home as soon as they moved in. They found a rhythm in their life together, dividing tasks fairly. What once seemed like a solitary responsibility now became a joint effort. Their evenings were filled with laughter, home-cooked dinners, and moments of tranquility. The feeling of having their own space brought a new level of comfort to the relationship. Of course, not everything was smooth sailing. There were days when the routine became exhausting, and arguments were inevitable. However, the foundation of communication they had built allowed them to face these conflicts maturely. They learned to resolve disagreements calmly, discussing what bothered them and seeking solutions together. Time passed, and with it, their relationship blossomed. The vulnerability and emotional connection they had cultivated became the foundation of a strong, mature love. He realized that love is not a straight line. It is a journey filled with ups and downs, but one that is worth traversing. The commitment to support each other and grow together became the essence of their partnership. Both were aware that life is full of challenges. Work, obligations, and external pressures would always be present. However, they knew that together they could face anything. Their relationship was not just about love, but also about friendship, respect, and mutual support. Both were ready to tackle whatever the future held, together day by day. Thus, they continued to build their story, filled with meaningful moments, learning, and growth. The journey that began with an invisible love had now transformed into a visible and vibrant one, a testament to the idea that when attention is given and connection is nurtured, it's possible to turn what seemed lost into something extraordinary. As the months went by, their relationship grew increasingly solid. The small practices they had incorporated into their daily routines led to a more harmonious coexistence. The willingness to listen to one another and the ability to express feelings without fear allowed them to create a safe space where they could be authentic. Their routine included moments of relaxation, but also reflection. Once a week, they set aside time to discuss how they were feeling about the relationship. These conversations were essential for them to align and adjust whatever was necessary. He realized that by sharing his insecurities and hopes, he was helping to create an even stronger bond. In this environment, trust grew. She, in turn, began to feel more comfortable expressing her desires and concerns. This openness was a game changer. The dialogue became deeper and more meaningful. They were becoming increasingly connected, not only emotionally but also intellectually. Conversations about books, movies, and life ideas became frequent, and these moments of exchange enriched the relationship. Over time, they decided it was time to explore new horizons together. The desire to travel and explore new places began to emerge. They talked about potential destinations, planning little getaways on the weekends. The idea of venturing out into the world side by side brought a fresh excitement to their routine. Both were thrilled with the prospect of creating new memories and experiences, so they organized a trip to a nearby location, a destination they had always dreamed of visiting. The preparations for the trip were filled with laughter and discussions about what to take along. This planning phase reinforced the notion that they were truly on this journey together. When the day of the trip finally arrived, the excitement was palpable. The journey to their destination was filled with music, conversations, and an air of anticipation that surrounded them. The trip itself was a transformative experience. They explored new places, tried different foods, and got lost in long conversations under the stars. Every moment was an opportunity to strengthen the bond they had built. This shared experience brought a new understanding of what it meant to be together. The joy and discovery were crucial in solidifying the love that was blossoming between them. After that weekend, their trust and camaraderie only grew stronger. Over time, the space they shared became a reflection of what they were building together. They started decorating the apartment with items that symbolized their experiences. Each piece had a story, making their home a unique place filled with meaningful memories. Daily responsibilities, which once seemed burdensome, were now viewed as opportunities for collaboration. Household chores were divided fairly, and each person felt part of the process. This dynamic contributed to a lighter and more pleasant atmosphere. Both parties were willing to make sacrifices for each other's well-being, which strengthened their sense of partnership. As the days went by, new challenges arose. The professional lives of both began to demand more time and dedication. He started working on a project that required many hours, while she, on the other hand, was preparing for an important presentation at college. The pressure increased, and for a brief moment, the connection between the two was tested. Their conversations became shorter, and their time together was scarce. He realized that even though they were busy, it was crucial to keep communication open. Instead of allowing their routine to create distance, they decided to make an effort to find a balance. They committed to setting aside time every day to reconnect, even if it was just for a few minutes. This effort brought new life to their relationship, showing that they were willing to prioritize each other, even in tough times. Over time, the pressure from work and studies began to ease. He completed his project, and she received great feedback on her presentation. With that, the relief brought a new energy to their relationship. They decided to celebrate these achievements with a special dinner. The idea of celebrating victories, no matter how small, became a new tradition. These moments of celebration became a way to remember that, regardless of the challenges, there was always something to celebrate. The small victories became part of their routine, bringing a sense of joy and gratitude to their lives. The positive atmosphere they created reflected in their daily interactions. The emotional connection they had cultivated was expressed through simple gestures. He began leaving sweet notes in unexpected places, while she prepared his favorite meals on special days. These little displays of affection, which had once been rare, were now frequent, and each gesture contributed to strengthening their relationship. Life went on, and they became an even closer team. Their willingness to face challenges together made them feel more secure in one another. Conversations about the future became more common. They discussed not only where they would like to travel, but also their long-term dreams and aspirations. It was clear that their relationship had evolved. The invisible love that had once almost driven them apart had now transformed into a solid and vibrant love, filled with understanding and mutual respect. They learned that vulnerability and communication are essential for a healthy relationship. Both were willing to invest in what they had built, aware that love is not just a feeling, but a choice that is renewed daily. Time passed, and their relationship blossomed in ways they had never imagined. They became more than just a couple. They were friends, partners, and confidants. The journey that began with invisible love was now a celebration of the connection they had built, overflowing with promises and hopes for the future. And so, they moved forward, ready to face whatever came their way, together. As the relationship progressed, they realized that their communication was stronger than ever. The conversations, which had once been punctuated by silences, now flowed easily. They felt comfortable discussing any topic, from everyday issues to the deepest dreams each of them held. This safe space allowed both of them to realize that challenges were better faced together. They also decided to implement a relaxation day every 2 weeks. This day was set aside for activities they both enjoyed, whether it was a walk in the park, a movie, or a board game marathon. The objective was simple: to disconnect from daily pressures and just enjoy each other's company. This practice helped strengthen their friendship and emotional connection, creating memories that brought them even closer. Their trust in each other also grew. He began to share his insecurities related to work, while she talked about her academic anxieties. This exchange of vulnerabilities not only brought them closer, but also reinforced the idea that they could rely on one another in any situation. Mutual support became a hallmark of their relationship. Furthermore, they started to explore common interests that they hadn't discovered before. He encouraged her to try cooking, and she introduced him to the world of art. Together, they took painting classes, where each could express their creativity. This new activity brought a freshness to the relationship, allowing them to see each other in a different light, away from daily obligations. Over time, discussions about the future became more frequent. They talked about the possibility of traveling to different countries, experiencing new cultures, and trying exotic foods. The idea of exploring the world together became a source of motivation and excitement. They began to plan a trip for the next holiday, daydreaming about the places they could visit. Building a life together also brought up questions about finances. They decided it was important to have open conversations about money, especially if they wanted to share a future together. They established a joint budget and discussed financial goals, such as saving to travel or possibly buying a home. This practical approach not only helped them align their objectives, but also strengthened their partnership, as working together to achieve common goals was rewarding. On the other hand, they also faced challenges when it came to family. Both had different expectations regarding how their families fit into their lives. He came from a family that valued independence, while she had closer family ties. These differing viewpoints caused some tensions, but once again, communication was key. They sat down to discuss how they could honor their families, while also maintaining their individuality within their relationship. As time passed, the routine that once seemed simple transformed into a cycle of growth and learning. He began to notice that she felt more confident and comfortable in her role in the relationship. She, in turn, started encouraging him to engage in activities he had previously hesitated to participate in, such as attending social events or joining discussion groups on topics that interested him. This willingness to support each other in new challenges transformed not just the relationship, but also the way each of them viewed themselves individually. He became more open to feedback and started working on issues that had previously held him back from feeling fully fulfilled. The same happened with her, as she allowed herself to grow and explore new opportunities without the fear of being judged. The relationship was in constant evolution, and they were both aware that it would require continuous effort. They learned that life together wouldn't be perfect, but that each challenge was an opportunity to show love and understanding. The invisible love that once nearly tore them apart was now a strong bond, built on trust, communication, and mutual respect. Now, more than ever, they were ready to face whatever came their way. With a solid foundation of love and friendship, they were determined to turn their experiences into lessons, always keeping an open mind to what might come next. This journey of rediscovery became a true love story, filled with meaningful moments and the promise of a future together. Before you leave, do 2 things now. Take a deep breath and cherish what touched your heart today. And if it makes sense, share this story with someone who also needs to hear it.